talk to me a little bit about when you hear there's a mass exodus and how all that comes together for these guys to show up on WWF TV.
Well, the word gets out because, the old expression, telephone, telegraph, tell a wrestler. So nothing that went on down there, and I'm sure the same thing with our place, reciprocally, was a secret. And those guys were tired of being looked upon as, none of you guys are 6 feet tall, you're undersized, and guys your height, your size will not draw money, because nobody will believe that you're really good or you're really tough or whatever. So, man, when I heard those four guys could be available, I got very interested in that situation, and so therefore we brought them to Vince's house. We brought them to Greenwich. We brought them they stayed in Stanford. But look, I was a major fan of all those guys for different reasons. Saturn was the irreverent one, and the most unique cat probably of the group. Dean Malenko could wrestle and have a great match with anybody alive. He's a great coach now for AEW, and he had all that was just the knowledge, the whole thing. And he's 5'8" or 5'9", whatever the hell he is. And then you had Eddie and Chris, and that's where the rubber met the road, because in those two guys, in my opinion, as a EVP of Talent Relations, those were two men that were as good as any two in-ring performers in the world. That covers a lot of territory. That's a big territory.
Yeah.
And they both were different, but they both were extraordinary in-ring performers. And again, no matter if you had a young roster or veterans, the match with Benoit and or Jericho, speaking of those two specifically, were going to be great. And I couldn't believe, I really couldn't believe that WCW is allowing that to happen without any compensation, without, we didn't trade anybody, we didn't give them any money, we didn't do anything. We sat back and all the papers were signed, they got released, and hell, we were ready. I'd have signed them in 2 minutes later if you could have physically done it. But man, it was a big gift for us. The Radicalz sitting at ringside, I still remember that. Sitting at ringside, and there they are, and man, and look at how great Eddie became, and Chris. Unfortunately, Chris's legacy, as I mentioned, is going to be always be tainted because of the last 48 hours or so of his life and the murder, suicide, and all the sad, horrific things. But if you have the ability just to table that for a second, just for a second, and go back and look at his in-ring work, how great was Chris Benoit? Pretty damned amazing. And then there was Eddie Guerrero, who, I compare Sammy Guevara to young Eddie Guerrero all the time on TV on Wednesday nights, because he has the same cocky, confident attitude, and also Latino, that Eddie had. So I just thought the world of all those guys, Conrad, and they were big gifts for us. They really, truly were. They were not hard to negotiate with. They were given fair prices or fair deals. We signed them within a week. They were all signed, I believe. So and the same old bullshit. You get some guys in the front office. Man, they're all small. How they're going to draw any money? They're all small. So I tell them, I said, you guys are so experienced. How long have you been in the wrestling business? 2 years. I've been around 3 years. Oh, good for you. So you're saying that because you've heard Vince say it, right?
Right.
Do you have any idea why he said it? Or you take it at face value because that goes for everybody? It doesn't go for everybody, fellas. Every now and then I said, why don't you guys go do some research? Tell me how tall Dick the Bruiser was. Tell me how tall Vern Gagne was. Tell me how tall Buddy Rogers was. Jim Melendez. The Briscoes, 6 feet, 6'1", maybe. So it's bullshit. So nonetheless, that was a monumental day for me in my career to get those four guys' name on paper for us.
Let's talk about the two guys who aren't signed. Conan, Shane Douglas. Shane in particular has some real hurt feelings. He supposedly, he's with all these guys on the WCW faction, the Revolution, and they had all sort of made this pact that we're all going to go together. the rumor and innuendo was some of these guys who hadn't been to the company felt like maybe Shane had a little bit of stink on him and he may actually hurt their leverage and ability to get a deal if they really do try to stick together, to the point that they all make plans to go to Connecticut and don't tell Shane. And when Shane hears about it, he calls Malenko's cell phone. Malenko denies it and says, no, I'm at my brother's in Florida. But then he knows what hotel that the company would put talent up. So he calls the hotel, and sure enough, all four have reservations there. Even when he tries to press Malenko on it, Malenko still kayfabes him because Vince and JR allegedly had told him to keep it quiet. So ultimately Shane doesn't wind up coming in ever again for the company. And a lot of people want to know, hey, what's up with that? Everybody made some sort of comeback, whether it was the Ultimate Warrior or it was, Bret Hart. Anybody who left on bad terms still found a way to sort of mend those fences and get back. Shane Douglas feels like the exception to that. Why would that be?
Well, I think he got bad advice from his lawyer. First of all, he didn't sign his release. And if he's still under contract, Conrad, I can't go talk to him officially about a deal. If you're unencumbered, as the other guys were, because their lawyer didn't give them that advice, so they became free agents, immediate free agents, and we grabbed them up. I believe, and at least this is what I would have done. I would have signed Shane Douglas in a heartbeat, but I can't do a damn thing until he's released, until he's free and clear to go. But I think he got some bad advice. And the thing about Shane, and I'm sure he still gets his feathers ruffled with this whole endeavor. I'd like to say, hey, look, I've been pissed off at different things in my career as well. And some were rightfully so deals, and some were not. Some were my ego deals. But I like Shane's game. He's talented, but I think his biggest enemy was him sometimes. He's a very intelligent guy. And sometimes those intelligent guys go down a road that they don't need to be traveling, and they get too damn far down the road and they can't turn around. I think that's kind of what the situation here was. He was very outspoken about his negativity for WWE at various times. He didn't do himself any favors, but when the time to strike was when the other guys were getting their releases and coming in, and I fully believe that between their endorsement and mine, that Vince would wanted me to hire him. It just didn't work out, and it's unfortunate. He had a very lousy experience the first time as Dean Douglas, and that was bullshit. That was not his fault, but it was he was not he wasn't popular with the other kids, so to speak. But I feel badly about that situation. But time goes on, and you got to move on, and hopefully he's moved on with this situation. I've seen him a few places since then. Obviously, we're always cordial. He's a nice guy. He's from Jan's hometown of Pittsburgh. He's got that Pittsburgh wrestling background. The great Bruno Sammartino established all those dudes, Dominic DiNucci, and all those cats. So he's just, I don't know, man. It was a bad timing, and he got on the wrong side of the wrong people. Those people were not me. I can promise you that.